is that like making it is getting into a gallery and having a couple of prestigious gallery relationships, and the 50-50 split is worth it because they're going to handle all the marketing and sales for you, and don't worry about the fact that you have no idea who any of your collectors are. Let us handle that for you, right? And where I pivot on that is that only works for less than 2% of artists are actually making a living in that model. I find the gallery relationship to be a tenant farmer relationship, utterly, totally, and completely exploitative, and it's just no future. It's no future. I mentioned in that video, and I just see it time and time again now with our customer base, like, your guys' gold is the collector list. You have to know who is purchasing your work. You have to be cultivating collectors, because the collectors will go for a ride with you for the rest of your art producing life and just keep buying and buying and buying and buying. And if you don't know who they are because you're selling through galleries, then you're never going to be able to build that list, right? So I take all that and I table it. I also, to your point, think that this industry is going through its Blockbuster Netflix moment, its Uber taxi cab moment, or taxi cab Uber moment, right? Like, you can sell direct, you can keep 100% of the revenue, you can understand who is purchasing your work, and all of that is an absolutely fantastic situation for artists. The bad news is you actually have to market yourself. And 99 out of 100 artists all have the same dream. I talk to hundreds of you guys a week. I know what it is. I just want to create and have somebody else do everything else, right? But the way to think about it is like, whatever you want to do the least is what it will be the highest impact in your business. So if you're committed and you're like, okay, I get it that this world is changing and that I actually need to be responsible for doing my own marketing and growing the business that way, once you start in on it, early on sucks. You have to learn a ton of stuff. You have to push yourself in new directions. You have to learn technology, which many creative brains are not so inclined to do. But once you do, once you crash through that, you're in a great spot. The business is actually growing year after year. And if you've been someone that's like clearly past the I have a product the market wants test, because you sold several pieces throughout your entire life for tens of thousands of dollars and everything else, you already know you have a product the market wants. You just need to get it in front of more eyeballs. And I don't know of an alternative that exists aside from the artist taking responsibility for the business and the marketing, that you can actually get there. I really don't. I think that's the only way to go. It is literally the only way to go. And it's hard not to be cynical when you're called like, oh sure, Patrick, the solution you're selling, right? But don't take it from me. It doesn't matter if you do it through us or not. I believe the path for creatives is taking control, understanding that you're going to need to market the business, understanding that most of you guys, maybe you've done a little bit of stuff on Instagram, but you don't have a big email list. Your site's not up on an e-commerce enabled site. You can't sell direct now. Like, once you start ironing these things out and getting at it, like, you wake up a couple years later and you actually have a business that's growing year over year.
Can I just say one more thing?
Please, please.
I don't want to run over
No,
other
no, no. Don't
people's
worry. Don't worry. This was the
time, but
yeah.
um, maybe my question was more in the direction of I'll set up an example.
Yeah,
Um,
please.
I was at the Brau Museum not very long ago,
Mm-hmm.
before COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and we all have our certain weaknesses, and I think mine is Garden of Delights.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, at the museum store they had a very nice printer, and I went ahead and bought the largest print I could get of Garden of Delights.
Mm-hmm.
So I go back home. I live in Chile in South America.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in Chile right now. I'm in New Mexico. And I opened my beautiful print, and I got real pissed off. Do you know why?
Nope.
Because you spend a lot of hours going through those incredible details in the original painting, and I know they put a lot of effort of doing a nice print,
Mm-hmm.
but there were once you got down to the detail, it was like little slightly out of focus,
Mm-hmm.
and that's highly irritating.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is, why do we need to be so greedy? You know,
Be
I mean, can the Prado afford this? Anybody can walk through and take home the Garden of Delights and enjoy it at home the way they should. So maybe what I'm saying here is the democratization of art. In other words, art was always meant to be public,
mm-hmm.
and there's no reason why. If you are in the Bell and you lift up your smartphone, not even your camera, your smartphone, you're going to get screamed across the room. Okay, You can go to the Getty Villa in Malibu and take 5,000 pictures. Nobody's going to say anything to you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I'm not making a comparison, but what I'm just trying to say that how come can't people have access to art at a reasonable price, real art? You know,
Yeah, I mean, I think they can. To be honest with you, I think you're overthinking it, and I think you're approaching the problem, which is how do I make a living that is what I have mapped for my talent ability and where I want this business to go, without doing the business the way that I want to do it. And I think if you get out of if you unclog your artist brain for a second and you say, actually, there are some rules to business. They apply to the art business just like they apply to all the other businesses. And once you focus on those rules and you say, okay, I get it. These are the rules. And you play by those rules, you have a business that grows and grows and grows, right? Like if you want to get onto the emotional side of it, you can do that. But oftentimes I find that like those emotional situations like that, especially with the print, is what gets in the way from you taking the positive steps in the business. Might not be what you want to hear, but that's what I find, right?
yeah, it's like when you know you go to airports. Airports are public spaces, and you have to sometimes you have to really wait a lot of hours. How come you can't see real art at airports?
That is a very good question. I don't know. I think some people would
It's
argue.
weird, because it's not like they don't have the resources.
Yeah.
You know, so what happened? What happened in between? Uh, is art the privilege of the few? And then when you go to the few, you end up with your duct tape banana, and you're saying, okay, well, this is a joke.
Yeah. Art is in the eye of the beholder, right? Who determines what it is? Bigger existential conceptual questions
Yeah,
than I'm prepared to answer, but I can appreciate where you're coming from. Thanks, Alexander.
you're welcome.
And I want to hear more about the story later. I mean, living in Chile, now in Mexico, sounds like you're the most interesting man in the world. But all right, who else, guys? Questions? Perhaps not quite as deep as Alexander's, which are more existential questions that I don't necessarily specialize in. But yeah, good questions all. Yeah, I think there's what I find is like time and time again is there's just rules that to how you set up a business, an art or photography business, like any business, and if you follow them, the business has great potential to grow year over year over year. And oftentimes artists don't do it. And one of the biggest problems, like I don't feel like there were ever classes in art school or there were ever classes in photography school, and then I'll get you next, Mialana, that actually taught you how to like generate a business out of your creative talents and make a living, right? And build a business that you have like expectations on. And one of the perfect examples, okay, I get this all the time. I just want to create whatever I want to create, and I'm going to take that to market and I'm going to try and sell it, right? And because that's what inspires me, that's what I love to do. That's what I feel like is art. And you take that to the market and you're not getting the results that you want. And you're like, oh, this is terrible. And you immediately go into the cycle of either art doesn't sell or maybe this is just a hobby and I'm not good enough. Like, you self-criticize and you have doubts and you have all these situations and different things. And what they never taught was that Pablo Picasso, when he died, had 45,000 unsold works in his inventory. That guy could have signed a piece of Kleenex with some paint and it would have sold for $1 million close to the end of his life. Do you know what that guy was doing? He was trying different styles and different ideas all the time. He was firing arrows at the target, and some of them missed and went into the neighbor's yard, and some of them hit the bullseye. But the only reason he got there is because he was firing all those arrows, right? It's like one of the common things that everyone gets caught up in. But all right, Mialana, I think is what your name is. Go ahead, Mialana. Nope, I had you unmuted and then you remuted.
Mute.
All right, there we go.
I got distracted by the thing. Hey, so obviously to me, everything you're saying makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
I tend to think a little bit more of adapting and enjoying learning about the new ways to get work out there. My question is, and thank you for this today. My question is, what are your feelings about how you guys can help with the bridge between having terrestrial pieces But matching that with also um, being able to move into the NFT market and try to, because you're obviously talking to us about what you guys are doing that is ahead of the curve, and
Mm-hmm.
that triangle, by the way, the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't thought about it that way, but it made total sense to me.
Awesome.
So, another way though is this whole concept of NFT. I was at Art Basel
Mm-hmm.
this year, and I mean, everybody was trying to do, it was the buzz
Yep.
of the event. And so I'm just wondering how you can help us kind of with that bridge, because art storefronts, what you guys are doing, it's making sense to me,
Mm-hmm.
especially after participating in this today. Is there a way that you guys can help bridge, to do both kind
Yeah,
of at the
yeah,
same
yeah,
time?
yeah. It's a great question, and I love talking about NFTs. The CEO of Art Storefronts and I, we grew up together, have been friends a long time. He and I are both crypto fanatics and have been for years and years and years. Buy it continually. I bought my first Bitcoin at $6. $6. And as you can tell, I did not hold on to that or buy 50 of them because I wouldn't be on this
Dude.
damn webinar. That was a bad move on my part, right? So we're mega fascinated by NFTs and everything that they portend. And NFTs, for that uninitiated, non-fungible tokens. It's a way of putting a smart contract on the blockchain that talks about an art piece. I don't want to go into all the details, but it's in many ways awesome. And in the short-term answer is you can list NFTs on OpenSea right now and throw them right in your art storefront store. You can do it today in 2 seconds if you know how to do NFTs. But what I always say is, like, my guess is there's not a single solitary person on this call that's sold an NFT. There's probably not a single solitary person that has a MetaMask wallet installed or even knows how to do that. There's probably a few that don't own any crypto assets. And going through that whole process and how to purchase art that way is so insanely friction filled. I mean, I am a tech nerd, and it freaks me out when I do it sometimes because it's like, did I get it all right? So what NFTs express and what they offer is buyers in addition to the traditional art buyers. Okay, it's not a status quo, meaning everyone that buys an NFT is someone that was not going to buy a real piece in real life. It's accretive to the overall art market. You've got all these people that have just made so much money in crypto across the board, and they believe in the movement, and they're like, I want to keep investing and doing this, and so they're new buyers, but everyone's looking at it and they're hearing about it, and it's like gold rush fever, right? It's like, oh my gosh, these NFTs. Oh my gosh, this guy Beeple, he sold $96 million worth of NFTs in like 2 weeks. If he's doing it, I can do it. And number one, what people fundamentally don't understand is it's not any easier to sell an NFT than it is art in the real world. Okay, you still have to do the marketing, you still have to grind, you still have to have an audience. You're not going to just show up there and do it. Number two, Beeple, okay, the most famous one. Every time I hear this guy's name mentioned, I get excited because I think they're going to tell the real story. You know what the real story is? He did the 5,000 project. He's a digital artist. He did one unique piece of art every single solitary day for 5,000 days in a row. Apparently that's 13.3 years, right? So it wasn't a shortcut for that guy, right? And for any of the successful ones in there, it's not shortcuts for them either. They've got huge followings and they've been in the community for a long time. So I'm really excited about what crypto and NFTs portend. We're still extremely early days, and if you don't get the fundamentals in place, a lot of which is what's talked about in that pyramid, you're not going to have any more success selling NFTs than you are trying to sell your real world pieces. It's just not there yet.
Yeah.
But it will be, and I believe in it, and I think it is going to be the future. But we got a long runway between now and then.
Okay, it makes sense to me when you explain it that way.
Yeah.
You still need to be building your own collectors relationships.
Yes.
You still need to be
exactly
your best marketing tool, and then having some algorithms and some leads from you guys would help that as well, right?
I mean,
Like
there's not like
you
any
guys have
algorithms.
created.
There's not any algorithms that we employ. That's funny that you say that, though. No, I mean, in a sentence, all artists suck at marketing. You need to be taught how to market. And what we found is, in order to do that, it's 2 stages. It's one, we have to teach you how to do all this stuff, right? And then 2, we have to support you. I call it the support umbrella. And it's a combination of carrot and stick, okay? Sometimes carrot, sometimes stick. Accountability, okay? Community.
Okay.
Support in the traditional sense, like you get hung up on a tech task and you go talk to somebody that'll help you out. You're having any of those types of issues, you can get supported, and all of that collectively is how it gets done and how artists take positive steps. artists forever, and photographers too, have treated their marketing and growing their business like their New Year's resolutions. Okay. And it's like that gym membership that you're going 4 days a week in January. Okay. And then March
Yeah.
rolls along, right? And you've been once the entire month. And it's like, there goes that year. I guess I'm not going to be building the art business this year. And then that's where the support comes in, right? Because if you don't have the support, it's not like, hey, Mialana, here's the ultimate guide to running a live art show. Read that and go do one. You're not going to do one. There's no way you're going to do one. You're going to come up with all these excuses why you're not going to do one.
I'm doing it, so maybe having some support would get me to divest from other projects and actually, push harder.
Stop working on the nonsense that is not growing the business. Stop working on the nonsense just because you think you're busy because you're working on the right stuff. You're working on completely the wrong stuff. So yes, we can help you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thanks so much. And we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Looking forward to working with you guys. Thank you.
Awesome. And did I pronounce it right? It's Mialana?
You got it right. You're one in a million. Thanks.
Thanks, Mialana. Yeah, it's got like little Hawaiian vibes in there. A little bit. All right. Who else? Questions? I can only pick on the ones with the cameras on, Michael. So you're on my list. Who else do I have here? David. Zashia. That's a great name too. But anyway, anyone else that has questions? And then again, as a reminder, in 15 minutes, I'll throw a link in the chat, and you guys can jump into a demo today on Zoom too, if you're so inclined and you want to see that. But yeah, until you fix the marketing problem, until you start working on the marketing problem, until you start putting in regular and consistent time into the marketing activities, like, the business is just not going to grow. It's just not going to grow. One of the interesting things that we've done recently is we've always had like really, really good advice, right? And we use mind maps a lot of times to teach our customers things because it's super helpful. You guys are visual people, right? So this is a mind map for a sale, right? Prepare inventory, make selections, order prints, prepare a website, create a live art show landing page, create coupon code for multi-item orders. And so here's all the details on how to do that. Tease the show. Here's what to post on Facebook. Here's what to post on Instagram. Announce the show. Email, Instagram. So we have playbooks like this that help you run all the types of sales, right? And we have a ton of education, which was awesome. But where we've changed recently is we've gone from one size fits all advice to more tailored where you are in your journey, right? And we call this thing the marketing assistant, and it's a path that we.
That's blocking the Zoom.
Yeah, thank you. It's a map that we put our customers through, right? And we say, hey, this is actually a business plan to get your art business started, up, running, and ready, and you got to follow it. And not only do you got to follow it, it's got to be like, if your website is not live, I got to be like Gandalf right here with the staff, like, you shall not pass, right? So like what I was saying to Mialana, stop working on all the other nonsense until this is done, right? We've seen so many artists follow this and become successful. Is your website live? No, we need to get it live and everything that portends. Does your website meet best practices? Do you have price points under 100, price points from 100 to 1,000, price points above 1,000? Do you have a combination of open editions, limited editions, originals? Have you activated merchandise on your site? We can get into that. Have you turned on order bumps and one-click upsells? I don't want to get into that right now, but I can. Do you take commissions on your work? Okay, I can rant on that one for like 45 minutes how that important that is. Do you have samples on hand? Okay, your website meets best practices. Next up, do your social profiles meet best practices? If the answer is no, you could have design issues, right? Where you need to tune up some of the design. Do you have enough followers? Okay, well then you're lacking credibility. We have this program where we put you on how to go followers. Do you have enough posts to look credible? Then if the answer is no, we work on all of these things, okay? Social media, whether you like it or not, Instagram more important than Facebook, but both important, represent, okay, a credibility test of sorts for artists, okay? It is the Amazon reviews of what you guys do. And if I get sucked into your ecosystem somehow, okay, and I'm now like, this guy's really interesting. This gal's really interesting. Let me go follow him on Instagram. And I follow him on Instagram, and your profile looks bucket, and you don't have any posts on there, and you have no followers, you are instantaneously going to lose out on a large number of sales. And that's just the way that it works. And I've been in this industry for years and years and years now, and I've watched that Art Basel report, UBS Global one that I talked about. I've watched that one, and then I've also watched the Hiscox report. These guys, again, survey people that buy over $100,000 pieces of art year after year after year. I've watched there's surveys that these people say, how influential is Instagram or Facebook in your buying decision? And the percentages have just gone up, 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 up. It plays a role in a tremendous amount of sales. All sales? No, but a tremendous amount of sales. Let's say we get you all dialed on your social profiles. Then we ask the question, does your business have minimum viable traction? Okay. And what that means in non-startup jargon, have you sold, we have 1,000 in total sales here. It should be a little bit higher than this. Let's just say 2,000. Have you sold $2,000 in art directly in the last 12 months? Is the answer yes or no? And be honest with yourself. If the answer is yes, you can go right into normal marketing. If the answer is no, we have to determine whether or not you have an audience big enough to sell that $2,000, right? If you don't, we have to help you build an audience big enough to sell the $2,000. Now, you can hack around this by being someone that goes and does the shows and fairs on the weekends, and maybe you do 12 of them and you get to the 2,000 in sales, or maybe you do 2 of them and you get to the 2,000 in sales, and then you can get going on your marketing, right? If you don't, you need lead generation, and that's done. Once you have the lead generation, we go right into a rapid day test where you're selling all these numbers of items, right? And we see whether or not you can get to the minimum viable traction, the 2,000 in sales. If that doesn't work, then instantaneously we have to start doing pivots. And pivots are where you try new subject matter materials that have the potential to potentially get your business where you want it to go. And it represents one of the first complete launch plans that artists and photographers can leverage and use, certainly that we've ever created, or that we think anyone's creative. So that's sort of the new path that we're on currently. And for those that want to stay on, by the way, and keep asking questions, and I'm going to get to you next, David, but I'm going to throw in the link. Let me just get this because I know they sent it. You can join this if you want. This is literally if you want to go and get a demo. It starts in 10 minutes, and you will just jump out of this Zoom call, and you'll jump right into another one. And what that'll allow you to do is see the software, hear about the pricing, hear about everything else. So for anyone that wants to jump into that, you can. It starts in 10 minutes. You still have 9 minutes until it goes. David, you're up next. Go ahead, David.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Oh, good. So my question is, what if you're an artist, but you're also, you need to eat, so you have a regular job that pulls in the income.
Yes. That's 80% of our customers, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I am a business consultant on a global scale, and I'm tech savvy as an engineer.
Okay.
But my question is to find the time to be able to pour into this.
Yes.
There has to be a balance that you have to put into this effort.
Yes.
So that's one question. The other question is, I already have a website.
Yes.
So how do I integrate in with you guys?
Yep. So let me do a part one, and then we'll get into part two. So in terms of part one, at a macro, it's less about some sort of magical formula of number of hours per week, and it's more about giving what you can give and then giving it consistently 52 weeks a year. That's what changes the entire ballgame. And then what inevitably happens is you do that, and somewhere around like month 3 or 4 or 5, sometimes it happens earlier, sometimes it happens later, you get some sort of a win. It could be a big sale, a couple of big sales. You could get, interior decorator could contact you, whatever it is. And I find what ends up happening is that fills up the emotional gas tank that we all have as entrepreneurs. And all of a sudden, instead of giving me 2 hours a week, you're giving me 4 hours a week, right? That's number one. Number two, we have a full-blown in-house marketing agency that just services our customers. And so you can think about it as a store. You can go in and buy a one-off product to give yourself a little shot in the arm, or it's a store you can go into and say, hey, I need 6 months of marketing help. Will you do the work for me? So we have that agency that you can avail yourself of. But again, it's about the consistency, right? And giving yourself the permission to understand that it's going to take you a couple of years to cook this business up, but you'd like to have it producing side income, and once it's producing side income, then you want it to potentially grow into something you could retire to or quit your job to, and giving yourself the time to do that. So that's number one. Number two, the question you always ask yourself about the old website is it doing anything for you? Is it getting the job done? If not, then you don't need it. You just move on to ours and you get going, right?
Well, it's brand new, so I haven't given it a chance yet.
Yeah. But you don't have a website problem, David. Like, it wouldn't matter if I said, like, look, I'll move you to us overnight. Boom, snap my fingers, it's done. It's going to change in your business? Absolutely nothing, because you haven't started marketing. No one's coming to the website, right? So, the website is only as good as the eyeballs you get it in front of. And that's literally the bigger solve, the more important task.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You answered it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I realize it's hard, especially after you just went through the time, energy, and effort to build that thing. You're like, I'm not letting this thing go. Do you know how big of a grind this thing was? Like, I totally get that. It's the hard thing about hard things, right? Like, everyone always gets emotionally attached to like whatever they had in terms of like a website earlier. And there's no answer to it, right? Like, in most cases it's like, look, if that thing's not getting it done, then you don't need it. But for some people, they have a commercial portion of their business and they have reasons to keep it. And so sometimes they have to do the 2-in-1. But yeah, that's the best way to ask the question, I think. Like, is it doing what I need to do? If the answer is no, then you gotta just move. Yeah, that's what I would say. Good questions though. Yeah, and again, 80% have full-time jobs. That's just the nature of this industry, and it is a fantastic thing because especially early on, you don't have to take money out of the business. You can pour the money back into the business because you don't need it to support yourself, feed your family, which is a great way to go, right? Like if you're completely reliant on it, that could make for some scary times there. So that's what I would say. Okay, Sandra had her hand up. Let me get Sandra next. All right, Sandra, you're up next. You'll need to unmute, Sandra. Yep, gotcha.
Hi, I'm on Fine Arts America.
Yep.
I have been for some time. I get visitors, but I don't get any sales.
Yep.
Is that irrelevant in this, or?
Not necessarily. I mean, how do you go about selling the work? Does it sell offline?
Well, I tell people to Google my name and that it's drawn into that.
Mm-hmm. But I'm saying, do you sell it in person at all? Like, have you sold any work in the last 12 months?
Yeah, a couple of small ones.
Yeah, a couple of small ones. How did you go about selling those? Wasn't online?
Facebook.
On Facebook.
On Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
I just wonder sometimes if I'm knowledgeable enough, even on Facebook, to make more sales that way, because I have connections from quite a vast area, but I'm never sure what's the best one to focus on.
Yeah, the best one to focus on is the one that's actually bringing in sales, right? That's for certain.
Yeah.
And it's not a condemnation necessarily if you're Fine Art America site. My guess is just you're not actively marketing, so really no one's going to the site, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's probably the chief problem right now, and that's okay, right? That's like part of the ball game. But to go back to my map analogy, so what we have to do is we have to figure out on the map, do you have minimum viable traction, right? And let's just say this is independent whether you sign up for us or not. You have to get that thing to $2,000 in sales in 12 calendar months to find out whether or not you have a product the market wants, right? If you have a product the market wants, then it's easier to focus on the marketing problem. But 2 or 3 pieces on Facebook is not necessarily enough to know. You probably knew those people. They probably love you from a previous life or previous, so it's technically the question is, have you sold $2,000 worth of art in the last 12 months to strangers? Do people not name mom, dad, family, friends, because they'll do anything. But once you do that, then okay, I've got a marketing problem and I need to solve that. So that's what I would say. But there are good shortcuts, like doing, especially now that like COVID is starting to go away, thank God, finally. Yeah. But doing the local fairs and shows and getting in a booth with a bunch of your pieces and seeing how that works, like that's a pretty great path to immediate feedback. You just have to commit to getting one on the calendar and saying, I'm going to do it.
I've done that several times. I've been doing this for years.
Okay, so have you sold well in the booths?
I've sold, maybe $10,000 in 20 years. It's not a king's ransom.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have recognition in the community. And I think sometimes teaching is often a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I've made quite a lot of money, is through teaching.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a ton of artists that put products in the store and sell private Zoom sessions and teach on them.
Yeah.
How to paint. So you could do that too.
Okay, thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. And Daniela, what is your language? Is it Italian or is it Spanish? That seems Italian to me. Daniela is saying she's English is not her native language and she's not picking up on everything. Because we have some Spanish speakers. I don't know if we have an Italian speaker in-house. Do we have an Italian speaker in-house? I don't think so. I don't know. I'd have to ask on that and find out. Oh, you speak Spanish. Then we definitely have some native Spanish speakers. So if you want to, Danielle, if you want to send me an email, patrick@artstorefronts.com, or just send Danielle a private message and just give her Juan's email address. Juan can talk to you. Juan on our marketing team lives in Venezuela, and his Spanish is obviously perfect. So there's that. But yeah, anyone that wants to go to the demo, that thing is starting right now. I'll post the thing again. So if you're so inclined and you want to go get the whole test drive, don't worry, I won't take it personally. If you bounce out of here and you go to that, all you have to do is click that Zoom link, and looks like there's a passcode on it, so you might have to click the passcode. But there it is. But other than that, guys, who else? Who else has got questions? Scott, I'm sort of intrigued with what your background is. Is that your just personal branding? Kind of like it. It's clean. I'm giving you the thumbs up on it. Yeah, I'll unmute you if you want to tell me what it is. People are shy today. No one's raising their hand.
I didn't realize you're talking to me, Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my paintings, and from a postcard I created.
Yeah, that's cool. I think most people don't have a good, clean looking Zoom background. So good on you. Good on you.
Thank you.
How's your art selling?
Not so much. Yeah, I just did a demo with one of your salespeople last night. I'm very interested.
Yeah. Have you tried to sell it in person at all, or have you just tried to go the digital route?
Well, I sold about 150 grand over the last 20 years, but that's if you do the math, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not supporting me, so I have another business. But yeah, it's my work sells, but I'm not selling much right now. Yeah, I have a website, but no one goes to it. Beautiful website, but no one goes to it. So I may just hook up my store to your store and keep my website because it is nice. But
yeah, you can do that again. You have to ask yourself, like, if it's not getting the job done, what good is it doing you? It's an ego play at that point, right? Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'd say. But anyway, props on the Zoom background. I hope to see you on the inside. Okay, Holly, you're up next. Go ahead, Holly.
Hi, Patrick. This has been really good.
Oh, thank you.
Enjoy it very much what you're doing here for us.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I'm on the verge of joining. It's about finding the time.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, do you have any members who are using virtual assistants for the back end work?
You could. It's probably just easier to use ours. Like avail yourself of one of the agency services. And the reason I say that is, if you talk to people, especially like in the art and photography industry, and you certainly can. Okay, I'm not negative virtual assistant. The problem with the virtual assistants is because this business is like so unique and nuanced and like a little bit different than others, that you don't get the ROI out of that hire until year like 2. And ideally, years 3, 4, and 5, right, is when it starts paying dividends. And so what everyone does, and artists are notorious for this, photographers too, like, I'm just going to hire this virtual assistant. I'm going to try him out for 6 months, right? And see how it goes for 6 months. And in 6 months, they're barely just learning how to do the various different things you need them how to do. And then you don't see the immediate ROI because no one's told you realistically how long it takes to get things up and going, right? So you could just, it's funny. Everyone on my marketing team, I'm like, if you're not here for like a 3 to 5 year job, can you just please be honest with me? Like, you just got to be honest with me because it's just not going to work, right? Like, we have to build so much training in and so much education, just given the nuances of this industry, that once those years are done, then it's just like, oh, you're in Shangri-La land because things are just humming from there. They really start cooking. So that's what I would say. But yes, you could hire us, or if you wanted to do, I know a few people have assistants or virtual assistants, and a lot of times they'll just send them to like all our educational trainings and in-house Zooms and everything else, and have them do it. There's a couple iterations of like husband-wife combos. There's very few iterations of like artists that are really, really doing well, and they just don't have the time period. So they have a full-time hire that does everything. So you can do all those types of things.
And you've seen that be successful?
Yes, if you take that right long-term perspective, like I'm telling you. Like
a good 2 years.
Yeah, and I would say even 3 to 5. Do you know what it is? And I find this is like so true in this business all the time. It's like, I used to in my pre-kiddos days, okay, which is not to say my wife is not gracious. She is. I used to drive 4 hours, and I live in Southern California. And at the bottom right-hand corner of Southern California is like the sand dunes. It's a bizarre place. It's where they filmed Star Wars with Jabba the Hutt and all that. It's amazing. Anyway, I would drive the 4 hours down there and ride my motorcycle, and you get this special motorcycle, and it was just so enjoyable, and it was a 4-hour drive. And inevitably, at the end of the 4-hour drive, you're playing the "Are we there yet?" And you've got the kink in your neck and you're so sore. Okay. Fast forward to today. My mother-in-law lives in the desert, okay, in Palm Springs. And that's on the way to this longer drive, but it's like only 2 hours. And I used to go blowing by the exit on the freeway for her. And never once was I playing any "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" Because I had in my mind that 4-hour drive, right? Now, I find that I'm like getting to the end of the drive to get to my mother-in-law's house, and I'm getting the same creak in my back, and I'm like, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" And it's the power of perspective, right? It's the power of perspective of like how long it's going to take to get there, and knowing like everything changes on how you work and how your output is if you have that longer perspective. So yes, you could get one, but it's just got to have that time perspective. That's what I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? You guys got to help me out. I don't know if this comment. What's your view of Lee Capuzzi? I don't know who Lee Capuzzi is. If anyone does, throw it in the chat. I'm totally curious. Any of the examples of how sculpture 3D artists have approached merchandise on the art storefronts platform? Yeah, that's a great question, and I appreciate that, Jubilee Artist. You have to get creative, right? You have to get creative, which is the thing you guys specialize in at the end of the day, right? So you can certainly do it, Jubilee Arts. You just have to figure out some crafty ways of doing it. If you have the skills to create art that can go onto it, fine. But the 3D you can definitely get away with. You just have to be creative about it. But you do need the different price points, and with sculpture especially, like it's really hard, to get there, because most sculptures, it's hard, number one, to get a range of price points with sculptures, and then two, most of the time they start at very high ticket values, right? So there's that side of it too. Okay, someone was asking me about TikTok. I don't love TikTok. Okay, I don't love it for a number of reasons, because I think it's controlled by communist China, and I don't trust the Chinese. I just say that as to say that's my own personal opinion. That being said, we just started a TikTok account on Art Storefronts. I think there are some, in Zashia, did you answer this? I think it's Zashia. I'm probably hacking your, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm horribly hacking the pronunciation of your name or just mildly hacking it, but okay, I'm just gonna stick with Zashia. I think it's interesting, TikTok. I think, they are the up and comer. I think definitely the audience scales younger. And so, most art buyers are older. You have to reconcile that. You just do. But I don't think TikTok is as high leverage, okay, as Instagram. That's what I would say. I think Instagram is much higher leverage for artists than I do TikTok, which is not to say you can't do a great job on TikTok. And, it's so funny because we've been having this debate internally, and, just to tie the whole thing together, one of the things we talked about recently is like, the importance of merchandise, right? And how awesome is merchandise.
Cold, huh? Well, guess what? I got you hooked up with this mug from World Photo and Gifts. Check it. Oh my gosh, Mom, I have too much things. I can't.
I don't know if you can hear the audio. I should probably just mute it. But like, look, we offer merch, right? And here's a guy's daughter selling merch the artist parent created on TikTok and going through all the items. And so is it happening? Is it going down? Yeah, it totally is. But I would my short-term advice would be to maximize Instagram first, and then go from there. So that's interesting. Someone's asking me would I ban TikTok if I were president. I wouldn't ban it. Well, I don't want to get into my own personal politics on it. I follow all like the hackers, right? And like get super into the tech, and it feels to me like we are granting access to a hostile foreign nation, all this GPS and like cell phone device data and where you are and what time of day. And everyone that's like looked at that code base says like they're taking way more out of it than they should be. So it just makes me nervous a little bit. But who knows? That's me. I could have my tinfoil hat on. You never know. Another question about NFTs. Yeah, we loved NFTs, Julie. We think they're incredible. We think it's still really like early days. So, I think it'll be incredible. It'll be incredible in time. That's what I would say. And I kind of ranted on it a little bit earlier too. And Adam Johnson's asking me, would you ever consider OnlyFans? If that's your niche, I'm sure OnlyFans has a ton of attention too, right? Like, we have a lot of people that are in industries and are creating art, like what's a common thing with art, right? Like, You know, if you create anything firearm related, Facebook and Instagram is out. If you create anything that's even slightly salacious in terms of nudes, you know, you're going to just be running up against it on Facebook and Instagram all the time. And that is a bummer. And that is a downside to that particular business. But where you know, you have to pivot at that point in time is like, you know, there's people that are absolutely killing it on OnlyFans. And so if that's working, if there's attention, there's eyeballs, you sort of need to be agnostic about it if that's your business model and how you're going. So that's how I'd respond to that. Yeah. But I don't know if we have anyone that's killing it on OnlyFans. Quite frankly, I don't even want to know. But if it's working for them, fantastic, right? That's how I'd answer that. But who else, guys? Questions? Comments? Are we all just hanging around, just saying I like the Q&A? I'm listening to it. I'm digging it. Yeah. As a final, I would say, you know, our huge sale ends today. Today is the last day. So if you do get a demo in, they'll honor it. They'll honor the pricing and the deal and everything else. And it's an easy thing to do. April can put a link in the chat for you. And there's still time. You should throw the Zoom link out on the other one. Yeah, there's still time to, is that the other one? Yeah. That you can just jump right out of this one and click the link in the chat and go right to the next one. And then, you know, they'll give you the tour of the software and everything else. And it's zero pressure, but what it gives you is it gives you the whole behind the scenes of how the software and the pricing and everything works. All right, Jessica's asking, as I've moved more towards digital art, I do pretty well with prints. Do the same rules apply to digital arts? I don't know if I totally understand that, Jessica. I'm going to try and unmute you and see if you can't give me some color on that. And you don't have to turn your camera on, Jessica. If you want, you can just ask via audio. I feel like a lot of times I do this and they're like, I'm at work, I can't talk. And in which case I totally get it. But yeah, I don't understand. Do the same rules apply to digital arts? I don't know what digital arts are. Just digitally drawn art. In which case, yeah, you can sell prints all day long. Okay, there we go. I got you.
Yeah. Okay. It is. I was referring to digital. You know, digitally created.
Yeah, all day.
Art prints.
All day.
I am at work. That's why I do have my.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people do. I love it. Do you know what I would say is that, like, photography, at the end of the day, is really digital art.
Well,
same thing.
That's a big way to look at it.
You know, when you think about it, it's the exact same thing. Like no one's using a film camera anymore, right? Like aside from a purist here.
Can you run those things like you were talking about the digital art rooms and things like that? Like I guess you could do the same thing, just have some prints.
Exactly. All day long. All day long. It just comes down to ordering the inventory. Where all the digital artists blow it, okay, is they don't ever order any prints, right? And this is another one that you guys screw up on all the time. And let me get my little prop here.
I have one.
I know. Let me get my little prop. You guys think that we normal humans that might buy your art have the same powers of visualization that you guys do, okay? I can't look at your Instagram profile and translate that 2D image to something that goes on my wall. I don't have that ability. There's too much friction. I need to see the thing, okay? I need to understand that it's real. I need to be able to turn it upside down. I need to be able to lust after it, right? This is real. This is a real thing. It's 3 dimensions. I can zoom in and it goes on the wall. Here's me holding it. And yet, what do all 3D artists do? I go to their Instagram and it's just JPEG, 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 JPEG,
yeah,
JPEG.
Totally.
Well, guess what? Everyone on social media, everyone on the internet all day, it's JPEG, JPEG, JPEG. We're all just blind to it. It doesn't even matter if your art is incredible. It's never going to catch anyone's reactions, right? And so you really have to put yourself in a situation where you're showing it. And so always order samples. To which I often reply,
that makes sense.
If I hired you, Jessica, away from this company that you're currently working in now, to sell knives for me door to door, it's lucrative, and you were knocking on the doors, what would you have in your hands when you knocked on the doors?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? You'd have the damn knives.
So I did order that for myself just so that I would have it. But then the more that I was watching this was a great, by the way, a great chat. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And I think that's the piece I've been missing.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Who else? Someone on YouTube is asking me to give a shout out for your sister's birthday. That was classic. I don't think I've ever seen that. So shout out Justine. Might as well. I'd like to know how to design license merge like Warmer Bros cartoons into cartoon hot rods so I can sell the color in 5 silkscreen tees. You're all over the place there, Georgia. I'm going to unmute you. I don't fully understand what you're asking me. So you just want to create merch is what you're saying, Giorgio, yeah? The designing is super simple. Like, paint the thing, scan the thing if that's how you're doing it, and then find a merch partner. You know, if you sign up with us, obviously you'll be able to do it. Not every single solitary product. So that's what I would say. Yeah, you can totally do it. The merch thing is such a funny argument, and so many artists and photographers have pushed back on the merch thing for so long, and it's like, to which I answer, tell me the last museum you've been to that doesn't have a gift shop. Can't answer that question, can you? Because they all have gift shops. They're all selling merch at the end of the day, even next to the greatest masters of all time. It doesn't lower the opinion of the art. All it does is it gives you something to sell that's not wall art, right? Not everybody is ready to put something on their wall in every moment in time. Like, a lot of times people are just not ready to do that. And if they're not ready to do that, you better have a product that you can sell them, right? Otherwise, how are you going to get there? So that's how it's going. Sorry, I had to send a message quickly. What else, guys? Questions? And Danielle, I talked to Juan. Juan's going to call you. Mi amigo Juan va a llamarte. Yo puedo hablar un poquito, pero solamente un poquito. No mucho. Yeah, de nada. All right, guys, who else? Questions? Final questions before we wrap up? Again, you know, if you want to jump out of this thing and you want to keep learning, April, you can post the Zoom link again, and the one for the session later, and you guys can jump right in there, get going, and get right up to speed. Other than that, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you guys. Unless there's any final questions. Do you photograph horses, Mike? I'm going to unmute you. I'm asking in a very pointed reason why.
There we go. I actually do a lot of rodeo work, and
rodeo
in the industries. You know, Patrick, the industries on my end has become kind of a sexy industry. A lot of it because of the fashion end of it, and where I've found myself after doing all the miles, as they say, to get to where I'm at, is going, all right, how do I really make a go at this? I've got an established website. I do make sales, both self-fulfilled and online, and also through a physical gallery, but there's no ownership in per se on that. It's not growing enough. That's another reason why I find myself here in front of you today.
Yeah.
And this is by no means blowing smoke up your arse, but it's one of those things where I've listened to this before. I've had the calls, I've had the numerous reach outs, and today I find myself in front of you again. So kudos to you.
Nice. Thanks.
I sent you an email while we were sitting here because for some reason we do these Zoom calls so much now, but I couldn't find my hand raising thing on there. So
no, it's all good.
I was doing this a bunch, but
the reason, by the way, that I lasered right in on your horse thing, because, and you need to follow her, and if you emailed me, I'll send you all of her social stuff. So
Carol Walker, I know who Carol is.
You know who she is. Yeah. She's killing it. And
wonderful.
now what's interesting about her is she obviously went all in on the wild horses, right?
Yeah.
He knows all about the wild horses. Most people don't. I'll just give you the quick background because it's important. We have BLM land in the United States, Bureau of Land Management, and the federal government owns it, not the states. And so the horses, these wild horses, are allowed to roam free. The farmers, the ranchers are not happy about this because the horses are destroying their yards, their land. And so they're saying to the federal government, you got to cull these horses. We don't want them anymore. And it is a massive, massive hot button topic issue, you know, all of it. And Carol has been photographing them and like knows the personalities of them. So look at this. This was her first live art show. Okay. And I want to show you the results too, or show you the actual setup too. And I'll do that afterwards. But look at this. First show, 324 last year, 6 pieces sold, $1,800 in revenue. Didn't know what she was doing super early on. Next sale. This one was on June 21st. 49 pieces sold. AOV is average order value. Okay. $136. $6,600 in revenue. Third show, okay? Partnered with a charity, this Blue Zeus Art Show sale and fundraiser, 27,190, 119 pieces sold, average order value 228. This was her fourth show, which was 1129, 7,687, 52 pieces sold, $228. And this last show, I'm telling you, like, you know, she's not an actor, or an actress, I should say. She's not like super polished on. It's always a crapshoot on coming to YouTube whether or not you're going to see it. But what I want to do is I want to show you the actual show. So just bear with me. YouTube Studio. playlist. Because she's just really, really smooth at it, and these people just go absolutely nuts for the horses. And my goodness, if you could tap into them, woo.
I did not know she was with you, Patrick. So when I looked at her website originally, I was like, man, this thing is nice.
Yeah.
And that's what led to me actually following her.
But check it out. She does these inner studio, right? All the pieces behind her. She's telling stories, right? And we bring in the comments with software, and she's telling stories about where she was and when she photographed the horse. And what's really blown my mind, and I'm really pretty close with her, like we've talked a bunch, there's this insane connection with horse people. It's like Green Bay Packers fans. Like if you love horses, I'm serious, if you love horses,
from Wisconsin originally, man. So.
Yeah, if you love horses, you just love horses. And so I feel like it's such an interesting niche. So I want you to watch her show, right? Because you could probably do an iteration of it. And again, she's had a huge year. I mean, she got published in the New York Times, and someone on Fox News, I think Tucker Carlson, interviewed her about the wild horses, and then she had like another NBC thing going on. So I'm so proud of her. She's doing so fantastically well.
Yeah, she's won numerous awards, and it's just phenomenal. I'm actually on kind of a reverse end of it, where when I'm not in the arena, I'm documenting the management of the horses in rodeo, because there's been such a negative connotation behind how we manage them. And so I've been documenting how healthy and how much money is invested into these animals to protect them. The ones behind me in this picture here are on a 100,000 acre ranch. There's 900 head of horses out there. And so what I do, and these are rodeo horses. These are, so what I try to do is I take them out there and I actually show them that it would be a great backdrop for me to be able to start doing that type of videoing, which is why I sent you on a side note an email just to say, here, hook me up with the demo when we get out of this talk.
Yeah.
If you could somehow point me in the right direction, whatever. So.
Yeah. Well, click the link. You can click the link in Zoom right below in the chat. So if you just go in the chat down there, just pop out of this one and go join it. You'll join it 10 minutes late, but you'll totally be able to.
The one that says join Zoom.
Yeah.
Right here. ID right there.
Yep. You might need that. You might need that meeting ID. But if you email me, I'm going to send you the video on Carol. I want you to watch it because it'll just get your head spinning so quickly. Like I think.
Yeah, you just got an email from me, so if you send that to me, that'd be awesome.
Yep, I will. I think you got a great niche with the horses. I'm extremely bullish on the horse situation. So game on.
All right, thanks, Patrick.
Okay, thanks.
Bye, guys.
All right, Scott, you're up next. Go ahead, Scott. Oh, don't have you yet. You got to hit the mute. Mic icon bottom. You got it before. Yeah, you'll get it again.
Okay. Yep. Sorry about that. So Patrick, besides all the other marketing stuff that we need to do, how does SEO fit into all this?
Not at all.
Is it
not at all?
Not at all.
Waste of time.
It's not really important.
No.
We just find it all.
You know that little box that was on your plate that said SEO. I've just gone and taken that, and you don't have to worry about that anymore. You're done with that. It's over. Doesn't work. It works for a very small, unique bit of artist, but fundamentally the problem with SEO is it misunderstands how people go about buying art. They don't just say, I need some photos of birds, and then start Googling photos of birds, and then arrive on a site that's selling prints and then buys them. Does that happen occasionally? Of course it happens occasionally. But most people want to know the artist, follow the artist for a little while, bond with the artist, see what they're putting down on Instagram, and then they buy the art from them, right? It's not like art's not so much like an impulse buy in most cases. And out of 100 sales, like those ones that actually go down via SEO, I would say it's like 3 to 4. It's just not a viable marketing channel anymore. It was maybe 20 years ago when SEO started, but since, no.
So we just use a bunch of other ways to funnel them to the website.
Exactly right. Social media marketing has really replaced it in terms of effectiveness.
Do you know David Emmons and the whole artist marketing formula thing that he's got step by step?
I do. I've heard about him. He likes inserting himself in our business from time to time. I haven't met him per se, but I have some funny stories about him. Yes.
Yeah, I've met him because I'm in Vermont. He's on the art circuit here. So I knew him when he was still selling like crazy at shows, but it's good stuff. And I bought the program years ago, but I haven't been able to implement it. It's just too much. 25 hours of tutorials that are just over my head. And it just takes
Yeah.
It's a lot of it. It's Facebook ads. It's Facebook ads.
Yeah, I know it. I know it's all Facebook. Is he a nice guy, by the way?
Very nice.
Cool.
Yeah, and he's accessible and he's good at what he does, but it's a different thing. But well, I just finally sold a print today, but I have to do all the work. I had to contact the company and place the order, and it's very limited what people can buy on my site.
That's a nightmare.
So
It's a nightmare. Yeah.
I love what you guys have. It's just I'm just trying to figure out the finances because I'm the typical starving artist. I look good. It looks good here, but
yeah.
I bust my ass landscaping all year long to pay for my studio.
For sure.
So.
For sure.
Yeah. So, but I'm excited. So I need to recontact Kelly that did a demo with me, or
yeah, you could. Yeah, you could if you like. Yeah.
That's the easiest way to do it.
You don't even have to. We'll have somebody reach out for you. It's fine.
Okay. Cool.
One less thing. Will you make sure someone reaches out to Scott, April? Yep. We'll get you dialed in. But I know the printing, especially, like, where you are right now, it's one order. You'll be able to deal with it. It's not going to kill you. But once you start really getting humming, the thought of, like, having to be involved in any of that, by which I mean putting in the print order, looking at a sample, dealing with tracking numbers, it's not how you make it in this business. Yeah.
I mean, the problem I'm having now with signing up today is that I won't be able to touch this till November because my landscape season is about to start, and eventually I want to do this full time again. I used to do it full time when I lived in Seattle, but moving to Vermont, there hasn't really been a local market. So
yeah. Anyway,
I just got to get to November, then put my time in. But I suppose I can't wait. The deal's happening now, so
yeah, it's the bigger, and again, like, don't take this cynically, because it's not to be taken cynically. If you don't get started, right, and don't do it with us, start on your own. But if you don't get started, if you're like, I'm going to start in November, the days go by, right, and you just don't take a forward step at all. And even if you get started and you give it 2 hours a week, and you give it 2 hours a week until between now and November, you're in such a better spot. You actually have some momentum and some wind at your back, right? If you don't, then you're starting from scratch and you'll never get there. And the whole point of it at a macro is like, I'll just get started when, right? And the hours, turn it into days, turn it into months. How's that our business coming, right? So you have to commit. You have to pin yourself down and say, like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get going. And again, I don't care if you sign up with us, right? I'm just telling you, don't delude yourself into saying I'll get started when November comes around, because you're not going to do it, right?
Yeah.
But that's crazy to me that the landscaping business is so seasonal. I mean, that totally makes sense. Like, what are you doing with that much snow on the ground? You're shoveling driveways. No one wants to do that.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. All right, Scott.
All right, man. I won't keep you. Thanks for the private session.
Yeah, no worries. That's what I'm here for. That's what these sessions are here for. All right, guys. Any finals? Any final questions before we go? We will send you a lovely replay in a short period of time, and it'll be the video from the session, all the links, that we talked about. There's some really good stuff in there too, and for those of you guys that are like kind of exploring the live art show concept, I have in here one of the links, and don't worry, again, I'm going to send this to you. I have in here how to run a live art show quick start guide. This thing's cool. I made this thing from scratch, and it's how to run live art shows, a quick start guide, and it walks you through everything from step to finish, right? One, it talks about the live art shows, how they go down, what you can do, real results, real artists. You can see what them talking about it. You can go visit their socials, and then down here at the very end of it, I have, where is it? It's down here somewhere. I have this guide, and all you have to do is send me the guide, please. And I'm not even asking for an email or any other nonsense. All you got to do is click that link, and then this thing's killer. This is step-by-step video. It's like basically the quick and dirty, just get right into it. The equipment you need to run one of these, hint, you already have it. It's just this. Inventory and pricing, how to get paid, where to stream the show, how to announce the show, what to do after, and then some bonus content on getting started. So that'll be in there, in addition to anything else that we talked about, some books, some follow-up resources. There's some good stuff in here. It's totally free. You don't have to commit to anything. So all of that will be there and should be able to help you out. But on that note, I think we leave it there. Appreciate you guys all for being on the session today, and hope to see you around in the future.